Good evening and welcome to Realty Coffee Talk on Awaz Entertainment. My name is Tahir Qureshi. I'm a broker of record for City Pro Realty Inc. brokerage and your host. Tonight we're going to talk about ins and outs of our real estate investment. Today is a great honor for me to invite Taimur Shah. He's a partner with the Shah and Shah lawyers.
Absolutely. My name is Temur Shah. Thank you for introducing me. Thank you for having me here. I'm the managing partner of our law firm, Shah and Shah Lawyers. We're a family-run business. We are all a family of lawyers, and we tend to do all practices: immigration, real estate, family, litigation, any and all wills, estates, etc. We do all of that. So we're the kind of the full practice firm.
Well, today we picked up a topic ins and out of real estate investing because there's a lot of issues owning a second property, which is normally investment property,
Yeah.
and dealing with the tenants, and also issue vacancies and all the challenges. So, what do you see that areas where people are investing money in a residential or commercial, or which area you are providing support?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, just for support purposes, we provide commercial and real estate for residential, any and all. But specifically speaking, for the topic of tonight, I decided and I discussed with you is that there's a huge issue right now with the landlord and tenant tribunal. Everyone knows that if you have a tenant and you want to evict that tenant, it takes upwards of 1 to 2 years.
Correct.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, obviously.
And so my concern immediately was that my clients who are landlords, they're losing money and they can't afford their properties anymore. So they have to move and say, you know what, I have to sell this property because I can't deal with it anymore because my tenant is not paying me rent.
And they don't even cooperate too. And I think I did an episode on this, how to deal with tenanted property. There is an episode was done about a year ago.
Right.
And what are the challenges with those? And cooperation is the biggest thing. They won't give you access to the property for showing purposes. So how do you deal with this complex matter?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. And the way we deal with this right now, initially, and the problem is that at the landlord and tenant tribunal, it's extremely backlogged. If you want to hear a hearing on paying rent, it's going to take upwards of a year and a half.
Wow.
And that in itself will not actually get you the arrears in rent. Meaning, at that point, once the hearing is completed, the only thing you can do is evict that tenant. And that order that you get from the landlord and tenant tribunal is only a piece of paper. That piece of paper can evict a tenant, but it cannot get your money back. And that's an entirely different process.
But how you especially the challenge right now is landlord is because of interest rate went up, and when the time they negotiated the rental, they was not able to break even. Now with when they're losing the money, they don't have money coming from tenant who stop paying the rental, and this becomes very complicated. So how they deal with this?
No, so this is what we're doing right now is we've created a solution, a very unique solution. We have found that if you want to have a good investment property that's making you and generating you money month over month, is you need to find a really high quality tenant. There are bad actors and there are good actors.
Of course.
You want to find the good people. And we've created a solution that helps you find someone who will take care of your property, who will make sure they pay rent. And the way we do this is through technology. Through our time as a lawyer, I kept seeing the same issues come up. This tenant has a bad credit score. This tenant did not respond to financial requests. This tenant did not respond to all these requests. So what we've done is we've created a screening tool that helps you vet whether this tenant is a good individual or not. And that's based on a number of different factors. First things first though, the tenant himself, he or she, anytime they make a rent payment, we increase the credit score. So it actually incentivizes the tenant to make rent payments.
So you created your own kind of mechanism to monitor their progress of payment and their credibility.
Precisely. We've actually created a company for this. It's called Cove. And what we essentially do is, first things first, anytime a tenant makes a rent payment, we increase your credit score. If they fail to make a rent payment, we decrease your credit score. Because initially we found that only the landlord was actually benefiting from the rental relationship. He gets the money, he builds his equity, and that's it. The tenant gets to live in that area. So now it's changed. The tenant gets to live there, he gets to pay rent, and then he increases his credit score. So the transition from renting to home ownership can actually become a reality for him.
Yeah, that's another option is available right now.
Precisely.
Rent to own program. I work with one of the company that does that.
Yeah.
For a while. So when you do have a challenge, let's assume that your buyer wants to sell the house, and the buyer who wants to buy the property, he said, I can purchase your property because the income that you have committed with this person is not sufficient to carry the loan based on the investment or down payment they have.
Right.
So on those complex issues, how we deal with that, like for example.
So let's just say, for example, you have a tenant who wants to apply for your property. What are your first steps as a landlord? As a first step as a landlord, you're going to look into this tenant to see whether he has income, what his employment status looks like, what his previous tenancies look like,
Yeah.
what his credit score looks like, what a background check would look like for him. And we do this for you all in one single report. So if you were a landlord, you wanted to find a tenant, the tenant comes to you, he says, listen, I want to be a prospective tenant. I want to live at your property. And you as a landlord said, okay, you know what? I want to let you live here, but I need some information from you before, so I do my due diligence and I determine whether this person is good for me or not. The report that we provides you information on credit check directly from Equifax, meaning the information cannot be changed. We provide you employment and income verification directly from the tenant's bank account.
Okay. Yeah, there's a verification process now.
Precisely. Now we verify through the bank accounts.
Yeah.
Because banks will take every step in their power to ensure that the person who has a bank account with them is not fraudulent. So we're going to piggyback off their systems.
Yeah.
We're going to jump on their systems. We're going to verify the bank account.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have any data bank where potential tenant will enter information if they know that they are interested in through your law firm to help the landlord who's working with you? Is there a system, or you have to input the data when the tenant applies for the rental?
That's exactly it. So when the tenant applies for the rental, if you're a landlord or you're a realtor or you're a tenant yourself, for example, applying, you'd apply through our platform. You'd request a tenant screening report. Okay. Once the tenant screening report is requested, the tenant will actually pay for the report themselves. So if you're a landlord or you're a realtor, it's extremely important that you vet the people who are coming in and living at these properties. Okay. And the way to do that is to obtain a tenant screening report. And this report has to be comprehensive. It has to have income, it has to have employment verification, it has to have credit score verification, and all this information has to come directly from the source. We also add another bit of information that we think is relevant, and that is a search online for the Landlord and Tenant Tribunal. We look at all the cases that have been decided up to date.
On that, yeah.
And we try and find whether this tenant has been through the system before or not.
Oh, that's very important, actually.
Yeah.
That is something that is very helpful, because when they provide the references to previous owners to get rid of them, they would say, yeah, they were good. So it will pass it on to you, and then that becomes your headache, right?
That's a common issue that occurs.
I'm sure you have experience with that. The issue that that I see is, do you provide these services to real estate brokerage in addition to your own clients?
Yeah. So,
because they will come to you when there is a problem, right? But if they want to verify information, I am a principal broker, Canada Express Mortgage, so I have access to Equifax, but only for mortgage loans, not for rental, because that's a city, my brokerage for that deal with real estate. So we get these reports, and I have seen false report actually, and I'm pretty thorough. investigational to verify this authentic report. And I see two different reports when I search information, which is very different.
Yeah,
And I tell you, very creative people can duplicate and they can modify the reports to submit that.
it's true.
Unless you get a report that is standard, sometimes. So what I do is sometimes pull out my own report to see the template
Right.
from Equifax
Yeah.
and TransUnion pay for my report. So I know this is the template for a consumer. So I expect the same report coming from other one. And employment verification, you can call them. That's very important.
You see, this is exactly what you should be undertaking when you find a tenant. It's like these are so many different things that you have to involve yourself in. Like yourself, I'm going to verify whether this report looks the same as another report I'm getting, but I have to make sure that the report from the source looks exactly like the report from the tenant.
Yeah.
And this is the things that you should be doing.
Yeah.
But the point is that it becomes all too cumbersome. Too many things happening, too tedious, and you want someone to have your back. And that's exactly what our application does. So our company is called Cove, and we've created this just to help out people find high quality tenants. We don't want this problem to exist in society because it actually helps financial stimulus.
Yes.
When people start buying houses, when they start investing, when they start doing these and purchasing properties and investing in the economy, it creates a financial stimulus. And this stimulus right here is something that's been lacking because people are unable to find investment properties because they can't find good tenants. And so this is where the divide is happening. We're looking for high quality tenants for landlords so we can increase the financial stimulus for all the things that are happening in Canada, including the housing market.
So how do you deal with the issue? Sometime you have a client, they tell you they don't have any animals, and some of the sometime you have a owner, a landlord living on upstairs and basement is rented now is illegal.
Yeah.
If they get a second dwelling certificate, and they have sensitivity to cat and dogs, and the tenant will say, no, no, I don't have any dogs, okay? And we put in the contract, there's no dog and all that stuff. But moment they move in, next day they bring dog, and that has some problem with the owner. So they violate the agreement. But in terms of legality, they say it's not illegal to tell them not to bring animal, but it is affecting the health of the landlord child. This happened. I've seen it because lots of complaints come in. So I actually helped them to go to a tenant board. In 2 months, we got them out.
Right.
Because they breached the agreement because I drafted the agreement where we disclosed the sensitivity of the child against any animals. So vent was on and dog was barking and they told us that we have no animals, but they brought it in and doctor specialists provided a certificate.
Oh, wow.
I secured that and sent it with the application, and it took us 2 months. 2 months. I think it was about 2-3 years ago. So now backlog because escalation of your rental income.
Yeah.
Because affordability became an issue for landlord. They cannot afford these houses because if they have variable mortgages, they have taken interest rate gone up. So they are desperate for additional revenue. They can't increase it because the tribunal has guidelines. Ontario government set their percentage, and those situations, if how we can ask, can we ask the tenant to cooperate? In this case, how can we solve this problem?
See, that's a fantastic question. That's the problem that you have right now is you try and do an agreement with a tenant, and this agreement outlines every little stipulation provision that you want to ensure that is enforced. But these things tend not to happen because people have their own ways of doing things. And so the only way to enforce some of these agreements is to go to the landlord and tenant tribunal. But as you said, right now, there's a perfect storm, I like to call it.
Yeah.
And the reason I like to say that is because, number one, interest rates are going up and people are paying more money every month for their mortgages. Number two, there's a massive backlog at the courts because of COVID.
Yeah, COVID, yeah.
Over time,
many people didn't pay.
Yeah, and from March 16, 2020 was the date that the NBA was shut down. That was the beginning of COVID. From that date onward, the entire world changed. And because of that change, now people are struggling to ultimately kick out their tenant because there's so many people who have been backlogged now. Because initially they were dealing with things early on, but now because the LTB was no longer functioning for the longest time, that there was a backlog of all the cases that were sitting there waiting for life to start back up again.
So, question I have for you: even though legally they have a signed agreement, a rental agreement, a certain period of time, whether they use URIA, but I think mandated by Ontario Residential Tenancy Agreement, which is the formal one. We are doing actually both.
Yeah.
To formulate in one agreement, then we transfer it to that one as Appendix A or B to
Yeah.
this, just to cover the their
All
back.
bases, yeah.
But the issue I have is that we have a landlord. They have no problem with working with them, but unfortunately, they cannot pay. If they don't able to pay their mortgages, they will go on default, and then they will probably go to power of sale. And if once they're in the power of sale, they have a problem because if they have a right of redemption, they will also lose that too if they don't pay with the two. They only give you one chance. After 50 days, you are in trouble, right? Or then where you going to come with full money? So how do you think that tribunals see this, that there is a crisis because a pandemic has an impact on the ownership of landlord, even though they want to maintain that and they can enforce some sort of a cooperation from tenant to sell the house if they're lucky enough, because market price has gone down due to the impact I have shown in my episodes, and we have shown that uh, as of January we have 1% compared to January 23, 1% down in terms of value.
Right.
Value, but we're expecting to escalate. I was doing some report today. I have a global global connectivity conference today with CIPS, and we're talking about these things. So how do you see the tribunal see this? Either to eject the guy or tell, because the only way the mostly the favorable is that my family member is moving in. That's the justification they use.
My family are moving in, or I'm renovating the property.
Yeah.
Those are the only two right now that
Right
are
now.
that are functioning.
Yeah, I had a listing about 6 months ago for a client, and because they said one family, actually there were three families living in the house, and they put no information on there, and it was difficult to show because they were keeping it dirty during the show, and I say I can't present them in a way professionally I do, so within a month or so I cancel the listing. And so how the tribunal see this, and how is your opinion that successes are for the landlord? If they want to sell it, they have no choice. They go to power sale or sell it. How do they see the sympathy for the landlord in this case?
Right now, that's a fantastic question. Right now, the landlord and tenant tribunal, initially, it was Ford, our premier in Ontario, who actually decided to increase the number of adjudicators that were making decisions on behalf of the LTB. Since then, because they recognized that there was a massive backlog that they needed to fix, and the only way to do that was to hire more adjudicators to help with that. So they did that. But for the time being, that solution, if the entire system is failing, then that may not be the solution, because even after the adjudicators were added on, there are still major issues right now that are being experienced at the LTB, even with the new adjudicators. The system is just a little bit broken right now. And so adjudicators, they recognize that there is a bit of a power imbalance in favor of the tenants, because essentially the right to live in your house is one of the most protected rights that we have.
Yeah.
And that's specifically under the Residential Tenancies Act.
Yeah.
The RTA basically outlines and stipulates under the circumstances which you can go into the property, sell the property, do anything with the property. And as long as those provisions help the tenant, there's nothing as the landlord that you can do. I have seen time and time again, though, is that when we go to the LTB, for example, and we argue in front of them, and we say, listen, my tenant has been out of money, my landlord's been out of money, and I have a case, for example, my client is out about $40,000 at the landlord and tenant tribunal. We got the order from the landlord and tenant tribunal. We evicted the tenant. but the amount is still owing. So how do you recover those funds?
You have to go to small claim
You
court.
go to small claims court, and that in itself takes another year.
Yeah.
So it takes 3 years, 4 years roughly to get your money back, and that's if the individual has money.
Yeah, that's. I remember that when I was helping a client, and we garnished their. I went to the small claim court. I represented them even,
Right.
and we got the garnish, and she was a nurse.
Right.
Yeah, so we garnished them because we knew that she has income.
She had income, yeah.
So we garnished it, and she was getting the money, and it was delivered through the sheriff, whatever the notice is. So I learned the little process there. I've been to a couple of times to the tribunal.
That's exactly how to do it, though. But you see, that's a process, right?
Yeah.
LTB first, then small claims after.
Yeah.
And you still have to get the money after the fact. So it's like, imagine you've just not been paid rent for 2-3 years. They expect you to get legal fees as well, fight for it, and then run the entire property while having no money to your name. It's literally impossible. The only solution is to find a good tenant at the very beginning. That's the only solution.
Well, but sometimes you can't tell because you can look nice, but circumstances can change.
True.
And if they're legitimate, I think the landlord, you will encourage them to accommodate them in a short period of time. And you can also sympathize your own landlord's ability to maintain that ownership of that property without getting into trouble with the lender.
No.
So I have one a friend and client also who went through in Peterborough a house he rented through his family friend realtor, and it was kept there without rent for a year and a half. Finally, he got evicted, and when they were leaving, they damaged the property. So he ended up spending $50,000 more after a year and a half of rent. So I do not know whether he went after them. I may talk to them and make an effort to you. And they are in Peterborough, and whether they collected any money or not. But they did a damage. So I think the small, no matter what you do, they destroy their credibility, and the credit bureau reports them all over. So there is a very difficult time to come back to someone. They need a place to sleep, unless they want to go to the government subsidized housing and things like that. So there is a big challenge here, right? So we can help. So I think, viewers, it's very, very important that you have to think about your financial responsibility. To maintain the ownership, you have to pay mortgages. No matter what happens, the contingency happen, and as you can see, Mr. Shah has mentioned about that the problem does happen with the tenant, and you need to pay your payment because your obligation is with the lender, whereas your tenant is responsible to you for the rent. And if he doesn't pay, you have to maintain the ownership. And this is where you should consult with the lawyer. And at the end of the program, we're going to leave information for Sean to explain and give you his contact number information as well. So this is really a big issue. Now, is it encouraging for people to invest in real estate or discouraging it?
No, this is the question right here. So time and time again, we're seeing nowadays that people who own homes are becoming disenfranchised with the entire society, with becoming disenfranchised with owning or renting a property, and just getting yourself involved. But now there are solutions out there that exist that can actually help you. And the idea here is not to become disenfranchised with how things are working, but to try your best and to ensure that you do your due diligence at the right
beginning,
time. At the beginning, that's the most important part, because there are anyone can go into a bad situation, but the problem is this person done this before? If it's a situation that's occurred and the tenant can't pay, that's what happens, right? Yeah. But if it's someone who's been doing this for a very long time, you should have the correct data at your disposal so you can make the correct decision. You need information to make the right decision. And what's been lacking is that piece of information that can help you determine whether this person is a good tenant or not. And that's what you need. You need information.
Now, the question I have for you is that when you have a realtor or brokerage has a client and who's applied for it, we have a very strict system also. It depends on the individual, really.
Yeah.
You can establish any system you want, but the passion and commitment a person makes to make sure to protect the interest of our client. Our real estate, now new law, Trust in Real Estate Service Act, replaces REBA. Now there are very strict rules and ethics, and lots of things are moved from code of ethics to the law actually, and to protect consumers.
Right.
So whether you are buying and selling or you renting, a client is a client who lists a property. And we have now another system, either is a broker representation or designated broker representation. That means all agreements are done with the brokerage, but they can designate a person who will provide, or they will be self-represented party.
Right.
So now RICO, Real Estate Council of Ontario, has a RICO information guide.
Okay.
It's a 13 pages guide, and everyone you can go to on their line and send it out. Whether it doesn't matter is a buying or renting.
Right.
You go through this. So before we used to have a customer service, they eliminated that. Either you are retaining a brokerage and you're designating, for example, me or you in name in the listing agreement or buyer representation agreement or seller representation agreement, or brokerage. That means the entire brokerage. If there is a multiple representation, for example, I'm representing the landlord and then somebody else representing in the brokerage represent the tenant. But if they are represented by the same person, then it's called multiple representation.
Right.
So there is a disclosure and consent, very special thing and they are discouraging to use the same person representing buyer and seller or tenant and landlord.
Right.
So this is a new thing. I think we're going to take a short break now, and we come back and continue our conversation. You're watching Realty Coffee Talk on Awaz Ent.
Q Wireless and Computer. अपने तमाम devices, phones, iPads, tablets, MacBooks और laptops के repairs और मरम्मत के लिए हमसे आज ही राब्ता कीजिए। हम quality expertise के साथ साथ आपको free of cost diagnosis भी देंगे और data security की guarantee भी। अपने मुफ्त कोड के लिए हमें आज ही कॉल करें 647-350-6606.
Has opened a brand new location in downtown Vancouver. Satisfy your craving for Cajun at this new location off West Georgia and Hamilton Street, where you'll find all your favorite Louisiana-inspired menu items. We sampled the unrivaled trio of sandwiches, the classic, the deluxe, and the blackened deluxe chicken sandwich, and all were delicious. All of the signature fried chicken is marinated for 12 hours, then hand-battered and breaded, served with Cajun fries and mac and cheese on the side. Plus, for a limited time, you can try Popeye's Crispy Chicken Wrap, available now until September 3rd. Check out the new Popeye's location at 700 Hamilton Street today. Who are you bringing with you? Tag them in the comments.
This is the latest opening in BC for Popeyes, with more openings coming soon in both Alberta and BC by PLK Group.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
Welcome to City Pro Realty. We are 100% Canadian family-owned real estate brokerage. If you are thinking of buying or selling residential or commercial real estate, think of us. Call us. We are one-stop solution provider for your real estate needs. Our passion is real estate. Your success is our priority. Our commission plans to meet your budget. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. A family serving family. To search for sale properties and free reports, visit www.citypro.net.
अगर आपको दुबई या मिडल ईस्ट नुमा जेवरात की तलाश है तो आपको दूर जाने की बिल्कुल जरूरत नहीं। आज ही हमारे मिसिसागा रिजवे स्टोर तशरीफ लाइए। अल करम ज्वेलर्स। हमारे पास सोने के बेहतरीन कंगन, कड़े, झुमके, हार और सोने के सेट्स भी दस्तयाब हैं। शादी हो या मेहंदी या कोई भी फंक्शन, आपकी पसंद के तमाम जेवरात आपको हमारे स्टोर में मौजूद मिलेंगे। आज ही हमारे स्टोर पर तशरीफ लाइए। अल करम ज्वेलर्स, 3465 प्लैटिनम ड्राइव, यूनिट 99, मिसिसागा, या फिर कॉल करें 905-828-0009। अल करम ज्वेलर्स, फरमाइश आपकी, गारंटी हमारी।
आओ चले ईद बाजार, चलो चले ईद बाजार, चूड़ियां झुमके जूते पान लगाएं मेहंदी ले सामान, लेडीज जेंट्स कपड़े सूट शेरवानी और सैंडल बूट, सुर्खी पाउडर और सिंगार, फ्री एंट्री इस बाजार, चीज मयारी सस्ते दाम, वहाँ की हर शे आए काम, आओ चले चलो चले।
Eid Bazaar, presented by Awaz Entertainment and PGA International at National Banquet Hall from April 5th to Chandrat, April 8th.
HK Movers, home, offices, apartments and delivery, big or small, we move it all.
HK Movers.
Local and long distance, we also ship cars, Kalar transport and moving services.
For service with a smile, give us a call.
Call Mr. Harminder 416-524-6704.
416-524-6704 पे.
Visit 140 Advance Boulevard, Unit number 10, Brampton.
Long distance moving specialist.
HK Movers. HK Movers.
डिक्सी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स और अप्लायंसेस पिछले 16 सालों से खरीदारों की खिदमत कर रहे हैं। हम लगातार 4 सालों से खरीदारों की पहली पसंद बने रहने का अवार्ड हासिल कर चुके हैं। हम किचनर्स, बॉश, वर्लपूल, एलजी, सैमसंग और जनरल इलेक्ट्रिक के ऑथराइज्ड डीलर हैं। 5 स्टार खिदमत का लुत्फ लें। हम आप सभी को टीवी सबसे ज्यादा रियायती दामों पर देने की गारंटी देते हैं। www.dixieelectronics.ca हमारी वेबसाइट पर जाएं या अभी कॉल करें 905-625-5900। सभी बहुत ही मुनासिब कीमत पर दस्तयाब हैं जो आप बाआसानी से ले सकते हैं। At Dixie, we sell quality and deliver confidence.
Good evening and welcome to Realty Coffee Talk on Awaz Ent in Canada around the world. My name is Tahir Qureshi. We have an honorable guest, young professional, brilliant lawyer from Shah and Shah Partners and a lawyer. And we were talking about ins and outs of real estate investing. And we have a lot of challenges, lots of people who are bought the property, especially pandemic. There was some instruction from Ontario government now to evict tenants during this pandemic, right? So people took advantage of that and created cumulative, claims and everything, because they could not evict them because they had lost their job and all those issues and government subsidies. I wasn't sure during this process, did anyone have asked them, the government, to give money because there were money sitting there or being provided to them, but they were not sharing with landlord. Do you experience anything like that?
No, nothing of that sort where there's been some subsidized income money coming in from the government that wasn't coming
about
in.
$2,000.
About $2,000 per serve, right?
Yeah.
But no, generally speaking, everyone's been trying to keep everything normal and trying to get paid whenever they can. But obviously, these issues have been coming up, and that's why we're talking about what we're talking about today.
Yeah, is when we have when we are buying, and I have said in the many programs that recently I did a survey.
Yeah.
And when you're acquiring a property, I did a survey, and it said create your budget. And there was 34% said, or 43% they said yes, we do budget, and then 17% said nobody told us. I didn't know that I was supposed to do that. And somebody said, okay, I don't need it because he has a cash.
Right.
Or I should have known this, or somebody should have told me.
Right.
So it was a mixed survey about the budget. And when they're acquiring a property, I always tell clients or potential buyers, sit down with your realtors, bring your team, lawyer, appraiser, home inspector, and lender, and all those other team, and you think about creating your budget. Get input from your realtors. He will tell you who the best lawyer in that area is. They have experience. Appraisal can give you an idea in case there is a appraiser required. Mostly lender will do their own appraisal, but the buyer will end up paying it. Idea was to creating a budget to 2 things which I recommend. One is suitability, affordability, obviously. Affordability, can you take the risk to acquire a property? One is for your living, obviously no choice. But investment property, you have to calculate what the income is generating before even you buy it. Because what is the rental in the area? To determine what would be the ideal maximum rental you can expect.
Right.
Okay. And then you can look at your how much down payment. My experience is based on my experience. If you are buying a rental property, you must put minimum 40% down, not 20%. It will not carry the property. You need to put 40% down in order to self-carry it. And then, depending on, is a good idea to live upstairs and rent the basement. Because if, for example, if you give the both units to them, you have no access to the property.
Yeah.
So is it a good idea if you are a small family, live in a basement, rent upstairs? And the other thing is, do you ever feel a problem with the sharing the utilities if they don't have a meter? Do you have any claim like that?
No, honestly, no issue with the utilities. But I think, strictly speaking, it's this cost-saving exercise that many families are going through, where they're having one tenant living in the basement, for example. They have a kitchen, everything's fitted, and then they're living at the top section. In that sort of an agreement, you can have someone living at the property with you. What would define that property as a second dwelling area is specifically having the kitchen. The kitchen itself is something that if, for example, you lived in a property and you're the landlord, but you shared your kitchen with a tenant, that's no longer part of the RTA.
Yeah.
That's actually a part of a roommate agreement.
Yes.
You're a roommate, and the same rules that apply to that are actually the rules that if someone were to walk into your house and they have no reason to be there, but they're kind of robbing your place, for example, you can call the police right away and take this person out. That's the same thing with having a roommate agreement. You can kick the person out at any time you want. However, if that person is living in a dwelling in the basement, then the RTA, which is the Residential Tenancies Act, applies, and then the landlord and tenant tribunal would apply.
Okay, so in this case, I understand this does not apply to temporary occupancy. For example, this Airbnb situation. If you have that, do you have any kind of complaint regarding that?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask, they say, why is it that Airbnbs can function and operate without issue? And that's primarily because the RTA actually only deals with long-term rentals.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you have something like an Airbnb, which is a short-term rental, it's going to be 3 months potentially, maybe at the max, maybe even 6 months depending on the situation of the person who's living there. These short-term rentals are not governed by the RTA. And so you can kick the person out, you can leave reviews about the person, for example, give them a 5-star rating if they're good, that sort of stuff. So that changes based on if it's a short-term or long-term rental.
All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to give you guys a little bit update on real estate, and then we're going to ask Tahir to give us contact information, where the website is, where you can collect the information. If you're a consumer, you're dealing directly as a self-represented party, or if you are a realtor who needs some help, and you can go to the site. So I'm going to give you a little bit update for January data that I may have not shared because I was not available during this February. I was out of the country. So year over year summary, I'm going to share with you. The sale is up 37% based on Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. In 23, we have 3,083 in January, and we have 4,223 in 24 January. New listing, we have 7,836 in 23, and we have 8,312. That is 6.1% increase in inventory. That means it's showing the more properties are coming. Reason is affordability. If people have challenges, they can't afford it, they're going to put the property in the market regardless of situation. Now, active listing. This is also, we have 9,300 last January 23, and we have 10,093. There's an 8.5% jump in active listing. Average price compared to January last year, we are minus 1%. That means we are very close. In February, definitely you see a small increase in February prices. And remember, these are average price based on a total transaction that took place in January 4,002 to 3. It will go towards the end of the year, give you average based on number of transaction through Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. There is a TRASA, there is a ITSO real estate that has 21 boards, and maybe 50% of those people are not putting the property on TRAB MLS system. So there will be a small variation, and there are more other MLS system in Ontario, few of them. And so you always get the information from your realtors, contact the local realtor, because your price, your location, your street, your community, your city will be different. So this is a generic based on total value. So I'm going to give you very quickly the average detached price in 416 and 905 in January 24 was $1,350,828. Semi-detached was $1,038,303. Semi-detached 501, 905 mixed. And townhome was $891,443. It doesn't talk about the size, room, bedroom. It's just an average based on number of transactions. And condo apartment was $681,979. 416 has a little bit higher ratio as compared to 905. So let's talk about the year-over-year transactions. Then we're going to go back to Tahir and talk about the topic. So detached home sale was up 7.5% in 416 and 32.9% for homes in detached homes increase in January as compared to last year. And overall, and we talk about the price, so 416, 5.7% increase average price for the detached home, and only 0.1% increase in 905 area for detached home, and average 0.8% between the two together, 416 and 905 area. Sami, we have a 26.2% increase in sale and 51.9% increase in sale in 905 area. That means Mississauga, Brampton, Oakville, Milton, and any city that nearby has a 905 area. And average between the two was 42.9. That means lots of people are going toward semi-detached home as compared to detached home. And obviously, price average was 4.3% increase from last January to this January in 416 and 1.8% in 905 area, average 1.8%. And then we have townhouses, 42.4% increase sales in 416 and 57.3% in 905. So I mean, lots of people are moving from apartments to the townhomes or semi, depending how much equity they have, how much they can afford, how much they could put down and close the deal. So overall, 54.5% increase in townhouse sales in January 24. 416 townhome minus 8.8% in 416. 416 in normally Toronto, east, west, north, south, or center. That's a Toronto. 905, we have 2.9% increase in average price, which includes all those cities that we. Overall, 0.5%, so it's a positive. Now, condo apartment average price, 46.4% increase in 416, 31.4% increase in average sale in January. Average between the both of them, 41%, and 0.1% condo increase in average price in Toronto, and minus 2.7% in 905, which include Mississauga. And overall, minus 0.6. So that shows you the condo has a tremendous sale, but overall average 1% increase that affected the total price of a house. But remember, this is the average prices. If you need a price, you call your real estate professional or call me 416-451-3489. I can help you, or you call your real estate professional who's helping you to find out your unique property. Every property is different. So these are just benchmark to give you some idea. But if you're buying and selling, you need to hire a real estate professional to give you guidance and come up with a market comparative analysis, CMA, to what would be the estimated value of your property based on the sold property in the area. So it's very, very important for you to call a realtor in your area that you hire to help you assess the value of your property. Now I'm going to go back to our guest panelist, Taimur Shah. So could you please share your company information as well as website and the services that you provide, including this credit verification and verifying the reliable tenant they can hire so have a less headache. So can you please share your information with our viewers?
Absolutely. So just to start off, the law firm we work at is Shah, S-H-A-H, and Shah Lawyers. Shah and Shah Lawyers. We're based in Mississauga. The address is 315 Traders Boulevard East, Unit 3, Mississauga, Ontario, L4Z3E4. That is our law firm, which we do, as I mentioned before, family, litigation, personal injury, immigration, wills and estates. We do all sorts of practices, including criminal as well. And then through my job as a lawyer, I found that there was massive gaps in the market when it came to tenant screening tools. When I wanted to help find good tenants for my landlord clients, it was really hard for me to do so. So we created this company called Cove, spelled C-O-V-E. To check the website, you can go on getcove.co. So GETCOVE.co, getcove.co. You can go on the website and you can look at our website. It includes information for realtors, information for landlords, and information for tenants. And specifically speaking, if you're looking for tenant screening tools that were referred to in this call, go on getcove.co, GETCOVE.co, and you'll be able to order a report on any tenant that you want and have them pay for it as well if you're a landlord or if you're a realtor.
Yeah, I can see there is a request for demo. There is a demonstration of your site. Is this is the site?
Getcove.co.co.
Oh, .co?
Yep.
Okay, so maybe okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's it. And then on our website, if you have any questions, by all means, if it's any legal question, if it's any question relating to the tenant screening reports and tools that we have at your disposal, by all means, give me a call. The number is 905-270-5474. Again, 905-270-5474. Thank you.
So, okay, thank you very much. Also, can you share your direct number, phone number? What number is?
Absolutely. So direct number is going to be 905-330-4134. 905-330-4134.
Well, thank you, viewers, for watching our program. And we have lots of episodes on awaznet.com and also realtycoffeetalk.com, or you can subscribe my YouTube channel where I have uploaded these programs for you to subscribe. It is YouTube at Realty Coffee Talk, and you can watch and learn and share. The idea again is to increase awareness, consumer awareness, and building consumer confidence in real estate and mortgage financing, because I'm also a principal broker. I have a license for my brokerage, and the idea again is to building confident consumer so they can trust our services. So idea is always seek competent professionals to help you, because I can provide you guidance and based on my experience in real estate or financing or building, because I'm part of the licensed builder. But in law matters, you have to contact Mr. Taimur Shah, and he can help you, young professional, very bright. I'm delighted that you came to join us, and thank you for coming, and look forward to more opportunity in the future.
Absolutely. I thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, viewers. We'll see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. on Awaz Ent in Canada. Bye for now. God bless you all. Take care. Bye for now.